How many of you have at some point been on a roller coaster or some other amusement park ride? Here's a better question. How many of you have at some point in your lives been on a school bus? Um, or let's change that question to an even broader topic. How many of you have ever ridden in a car? I'm sure that's been at least something you've done at least once. Now, I'm sure you're asking me, Cameron, what do all these have to do with each other? What's the point you're getting at? And if you're not, yes, you are. Uh, what these all have in common is that all of these things that I just named have at least at some point been welded on. Um, when you all hear welding, I'm sure you think of someone holding a blowtorch, but that's not the only type of welding out there. The type of welding we're going to be talking about today is stick welding. Today, I'm going to tell you all how to stick weld by telling you what stick welding is, showing you the supplies you'll need, and how to lay a bead. And then we'll finish off by talking about the benefits welding has to society and even ourselves. Now, to strike us off, let's start about what stick welding is. Stick welding is another name for the SMAW welding process. SMAW standing for shielded metal arc welding. Stick welding uses metal electrodes, metal rods called electrodes, covered in a substance called flux. Flux is a substance made out of different components, which is used or which helps shield your welds from being contaminated by oxygen. Uh, Now, stick welding is used or is one of the most common and inefficient inexpensive types of welding, and is used to create beads like all types of welding. And these beads are responsible for keeping together things as small as chairs and as big as planes and bridges and even spaceships. Now that we know what stick welding is, let's talk about the supplies you'll need. Uh, Now, to start off, the biggest and most expensive thing you'll need is a machine itself. I don't have one of those with me today, but the machine is sort of like your central command or the brain of stick welding. It's what houses all your settings and what gives you all your electricity. Now, the next couple things you'll need is what attaches to your welder. Uh, your That would include your ground clamp and your electrode holder. Uh, your electrode holder is more commonly known as a stinger, and if you couldn't guess by now, it's used to hold your electrode rods and what transfers electricity from your electrodes and the machine itself to your base metal. Um, now that we know that you need that, let's talk about some of the protective equipment you'll need. Now, that would include your gloves, like these right here, your helmet, like this, and then you would also need a jacket, and sometimes you'll need a cap. Now, your gloves are used to help stop you from burning your hands when you inevitably try to grab a hot piece of metal, because I know everyone has done it at least once, including me. Now, moving on past that, your jacket. Your jacket is going to help stop you from burning yourself, and it's the best case scenario if you ever do catch on fire. Your jacket is usually made out of either leather, if it's a higher quality one, or at least all natural materials. The reason it can be made out of all natural materials is because even if you do catch fire, because you could still catch fire, you won't it won't get stuck to you. It won't melt and get stuck to your skin. Now, moving past that, you'll need your helmet. Your helmet is how you still are able to see while you're welding. This is because welding is a very bright process. And if you do not have proper head and eye protection, you could permanently scar your eyes. And it feels like someone is pushing sand into your eyes. It is very painful. Now, the last thing you need for protective equipment is your cap. You don't always need a cap, but if you're welding in the overhead or vertical positions, it's higher up, and you are definitely going to get sparks in your hair. And trust me, you're gonna want a cap. Now that we know what you need, let's talk about how to strike your arc. Now, there are two ways to strike an arc. The first way is to tap your electrode against your base metal and then lift it back up. It's almost like you're pecking the metal. Now, the second way to strike an arc is just that. You're going to pretend your electrode is like a match, and you're going to strike it against your base metal. Now that you know, or once you've striked an arc, you're going to glide your electrode like this across your base metal smoothly, and it's going to create a bead. Now that we know what supplies you'll need to stick weld, let's talk about the effects and benefits this has on society. Now, um, according to a study, uh, 70% of all manufactured goods is done by welding. And there are a lot of manufactured goods that we have in our society, whether it being tables, chairs, shelving units, cars, lots of stuff that we use in our everyday lives is made out of metal and has at least once been welded on. So it's clear to see that welding has a big effect on society. But looking past that, if you look at yourselves, if you're a good welder, you can make a lot of money. Because if we look here in the good old state of Iowa, even here in Council Bluffs, welders can make anywhere on average from $20 to $30 an hour, and that's a lot of money. Now, let's recap a little bit. First, we looked at what stick welding is. We looked at the supplies you'll need to stick weld and how to lay a bead. Then we finished off by talking about the benefits of welding on our society and yourselves. So, with all that finished, I hope you all have a good day and enjoy this new knowledge.